She wore white to my funeral. My husband's mistress, dressed like a bride at my deathbed, celebrating a freedom she stole. But here's what they didn't know. I could hear every word, and the woman they thought was dying, she was already planning their reckoning. Welcome back to the Tales of the Fireplace, our beautiful family and friends. We are eager to meet you, and we can't wait to share these experiences and journey with you. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Because tomorrow, we will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now, back to the story. The machines breathed for her. In and out. In and out. A rhythm Naomi Monroe had memorized over 12 days of absolute stillness. 12 days of being buried alive inside her own body while the world moved on without her. The private room at MedStar Georgetown smelled like antiseptic and failing hope. Beyond the window, Washington, D.C. glowed in late October, monuments lit, traffic humming, power trading hands in marble halls. But in here, time had stopped. Naomi couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even blink, but she could hear, and what she heard was destroying her. "She's really going to die, isn't she?" The voice belonged to her husband, Derek Monroe, 42, handsome in that polished Capitol Hill way, the kind of man who wore success like cologne. He stood near the doorway, phone pressed to his ear, voice low but not worried, not sad, relieved. "Yeah, the doctor said maybe a week, maybe less," Derek continued. "It's just a matter of time now." A pause. Then a laugh. Soft. Cruel. "I know, baby. I know. Soon." Naomi's heart monitor beeped steadily. Her body betrayed nothing, but inside, she was screaming. The door opened wider. Heels clicked across the tile. Simone. Tall, elegant, draped in a white blazer and gold jewelry that caught the fluorescent light. She moved to Derek's side like she'd always belonged there, her hand sliding over his shoulder with the ease of ownership. White, not black, not mourning. White, the color of celebration. Naomi's mind fractured with the symbolism. They're not here to grieve. They're here to celebrate. "How's she looking?" Simone asked, her voice honey-smooth, tinged with false sympathy. Derek glanced toward the bed where Naomi lay motionless, her dark skin pale under the hospital lights, her locks fanned across the pillow like a crown she no longer wore. "The same," Derek said, unresponsive. "Brain activity is minimal." "So it's really over?" "Yeah." He exhaled, and Naomi heard the relief in it, the weight lifting. "It's over." Simone stepped closer to the bed, studying Naomi's face with the curiosity of someone examining a painting they never understood. "She looks peaceful," Simone said softly. "She should be," Derek muttered. "She spent her whole life trying to please everybody. Maybe this is the first time she's ever rested." Naomi wanted to scream, wanted to rip the IV from her arm and lunge, but her body remained a prison, and they had no idea she was listening. "What do you think Naomi should do when she wakes up? Drop your thoughts below." Derek pulled a chair closer to the bed and sat down, legs crossed, posture relaxed. Simone stood beside him, one hand resting on his shoulder like they were posing for a portrait over a grave. "You know what I keep thinking about?" Derek said, his voice casual, like he was discussing the weather. "How much easier this is going to be." Simone tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "No more pretending." He gestured vaguely toward Naomi's still form. "No more playing the devoted husband. No more listening to her talk about us like we were some kind of team." He laughed, short, bitter. "She actually thought I needed her." The words sliced through Naomi like glass. Simone smiled, her fingers brushing the back of Derek's neck. "You never needed her, baby. You just didn't know how to get out." "Well, now I don't have to." Naomi's chest rose and fell with the ventilator's rhythm, but inside, her mind was on fire. I gave you everything. I loved you when you had nothing. Derek leaned back in the chair, eyes scanning Naomi's face like he was looking at a stranger. You want to know the truth? He said quietly. I stopped loving her years ago. Maybe I never really did. Simone crouched beside him, her white blazer stark against the dim room. Then why did you stay? Convenience. Derek shrugged. She took care of everything, the house, the meals, the image. I didn't have to think about any of it. She was useful. Useful. Naomi's silent scream echoed in the void of her mind. I was useful? Simone stood, moving to the window. She gazed out at the D.C. skyline, the Washington Monument piercing the twilight, the Capitol dome glowing in the distance. So what happens now? She asked. Derek pulled out his phone, scrolling casually. The lawyers are already drafting the paperwork. Once she's officially declared, everything transfers to me. The house in Georgetown, the accounts, all of it. He paused, a slow smile spreading across his face. And then we start fresh. You and me? No baggage? Simone turned, eyes gleaming. What about the funeral? What about it? I was thinking... She stepped closer, voice dropping to something almost playful. Why does it have to be sad? Derek raised an eyebrow. Simone gestured around the sterile room. Think about it. She's gone. We're free. Why should we pretend to be broken up about it? Derek's smile widened. What are you saying? I'm saying white flowers. A celebration of life, not a funeral. Something beautiful. Something that says we're moving forward, not looking back. Derek considered this, then nodded slowly. I like that. No black, Simone continued, warming to the idea. No tears, just elegance, grace. A new beginning. A new beginning, Derek echoed. They both looked at Naomi. She lay there, silent, trapped, listening to them plan her erasure. Simone leaned down, her face inches from Naomi's. Her perfume, something sharp and expensive, filled the space between them. You know, Derek, Simone said softly, I almost feel bad for her. Why? Because she gave you everything and didn't realize she was giving it to the wrong man. They laughed, both of them, quiet, intimate laughter that wrapped around Naomi like chains. Derek stood, stretching. Come on, let's get out of here. This place is depressing. What about her? Simone glanced back at the bed. What about her? Derek replied. She's not going anywhere. They moved toward the door, but just before leaving, Derek paused. He turned back, looking at Naomi one last time. You know what's crazy? He said, almost to himself. She actually thought she was irreplaceable. He shook his head, a sad, mocking smile on his lips. Turns out nobody is. The door clicked shut, and Naomi, trapped, screaming, broken, felt something inside her crack wide open. Not despair, rage, pure, molten, unstoppable rage. Because Derek was wrong about one thing. He had no idea who he was talking about. The useful wife he was burying? She was Naomi Monroe, founder and silent CEO of Monroe Global Investments, a portfolio worth $600 million, real estate across 3 states, equity in 6 Fortune 500 companies, a network that stretched from Wall Street to Capitol Hill. She had built an empire in the shadows, piece by piece, deal by deal, all while playing the role of the quiet, devoted wife. She had hidden it all, not out of shame, out of hope. Hope that Derek would love her, just Naomi. Not the power, not the money, just her. And now, lying in this bed, listening to him laugh at her funeral, she understood the truth. He never did. He never would. But that was okay, because the woman he thought was dying, she was about to come back. And when she did, Derek Monroe would learn exactly what irreplaceable meant. If you were Naomi, would you forgive him or make him pay? Let me know what you think she should do. The days blurred together in a haze of sterile light and muffled voices. Naomi counted them, every single one. Day 13, day 14, day 15. Each morning, nurses came in with soft voices and gentle hands, checking vitals, adjusting IVs, speaking to her like she was already a memory. "Hang in there, sweetheart," one whispered. "You're still fighting." If only you knew how hard. Naomi's mind had become a fortress. Trapped inside her unresponsive body, she did the only thing she could. She remembered. She remembered the beginning, 7 years ago. A fundraiser at the Kennedy Center. She'd been there representing one of her investment holdings, a clean energy startup she'd quietly backed. Derek had been there as a junior staffer for a Virginia congressman, working the room with that confident smile. He'd approached her, charming and attentive. He never asked what she did, never cared. He saw a beautiful black woman in an elegant dress and assumed she was... what? A guest? A +1? She let him assume, because for once she wanted to be seen as just Naomi, not the portfolio, not the power. Just the woman. They dated for 8 months. He talked about his ambitions, how he wanted to climb the political ladder, make a name for himself in D.C. She listened, encouraged, supported. When he proposed, she said yes. And when they married, she made a choice. She would keep her empire hidden. She would live simply, modestly. She would be the wife who cooked dinner, who kept the house, who supported his career. She wanted to know if love could exist without leverage. Now, lying here, she had her answer. It couldn't. Not with Derek. The door opened. Naomi's internal alarm spiked. Derek's voice, again. "I'm telling you, Simone, it's taking too long." He sounded irritated now, impatient. Simone's heels clicked across the floor. "The doctor said it could be another week." "Another week?" Derek's voice sharpened. "I can't keep doing this, coming here pretending to care. People are starting to ask questions." "What kind of questions?" "Why I'm not more upset. Why I'm still going to work, still meeting with lobbyists, still living my life." Simone laughed softly. "Because you are living your life, baby. That's the point." Derek exhaled, frustrated. "I just need this to be over." Naomi's heart monitor beeped steadily, indifferent. But inside, her fury calcified into something colder. Resolve. "What did the lawyers say?" Simone asked. "They're ready. The moment she's declared, everything gets transferred. The house, the joint accounts, the car." "How much is in the accounts?" Derek paused. Naomi could almost hear him smiling. "About 47,000. Not a fortune, but it'll cover the transition." 47,000. Naomi almost laughed. If her body could have moved, she would have. Derek thought that was her worth? $47,000 in a joint checking account? He had no idea that the real accounts, the ones in her name only, the ones tied to Monroe Global, the ones connected to offshore trusts and private equity funds, held $600 million. He had no idea that the Georgetown townhouse he thought he'd inherit was actually owned by a shell corporation she controlled. He had no idea that the woman he was burying controlled more wealth than he'd see in 10 lifetimes, and she was going to make sure he never touched a single cent. Derek moved closer to the bed. Naomi felt the shift in air, the presence of him looming over her. "You know what's funny?" he said quietly. Simone stepped beside him. "What?" "She used to tell me I was her whole world." His voice was laced with mockery. Like I was supposed to be flattered by that. But all I could think was, "Get a life, Naomi." Simone snickered. "She really had no ambition, huh?" "None. Just wanted to cook, clean, play house. I swear it was exhausting." Exhausting. Naomi's mind flashed to late nights spent reviewing acquisition reports, to conference calls held in the bathroom while Derek watched TV, to coded emails sent from burner accounts so he'd never stumble onto the truth. She had juggled an empire and a marriage, and he thought she had no ambition. "Well," Simone said, her tone light, "at least she made it easy for you." Derek nodded. "Yeah, she did." There was a long pause. Then Derek's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen. His expression shifted, something dark crossing his features. "What is it?" Simone asked. "It's nothing. Just work." But Naomi knew that look. That was the look Derek wore when something worried him. "Derek?" He pocketed the phone quickly. "It's fine. Just some budget stuff at the office. I'll handle it." He leaned down, close enough that Naomi could feel his breath. "Come on," he said to Simone. "Let's go. I can't stand being in here anymore." They turned to leave, but just before the door closed, Simone paused. "Do you think she can hear us?" Derek stopped, looked back at Naomi's still form. "No," he said flatly. "The doctor said brain activity is almost non-existent. She's already gone. We're just waiting for her body to catch up." The door clicked shut, and in the silence that followed, something shifted. Deep inside Naomi's mind, past the rage, past the betrayal, past the grief, something cold and sharp and unbreakable took root. She was done being the victim, done being small, done hiding. When she woke up, and she would wake up, Derek Monroe was going to learn the most expensive lesson of his life. You don't bury a queen and expect to keep her crown. Across the room, near the monitors, Dr. Rashid Hamdi stood quietly, reviewing her latest charts. He'd been Naomi's attending physician since she was admitted, a Johns Hopkins graduate. 15 years in neurology. He'd seen hundreds of coma patients. But something about Naomi Monroe didn't fit. Her scans showed traumatic brain injury from the car accident, yes. But the pattern was unusual. Her brain activity hadn't decreased. If anything, it had increased over the past 72 hours. Subtle, almost imperceptible. But there. Dr. Hamdi flipped through her file, frowning, and then he saw it. A notation from the EMTs who'd brought her in. Patient was conscious at the scene. Responded to questions before losing responsiveness en route. Conscious. That meant her brain had been functioning. Which meant this coma might not be as deep as everyone assumed. Dr. Hamdi set the file down and moved to Naomi's bedside. He studied her face, the slight tension in her brow, the faint flutter beneath her eyelids. "Mrs. Monroe," he said softly, "if you can hear me, I need you to know something." He paused, glancing toward the door to make sure they were alone. "I don't trust your husband." Naomi's heart rate spiked, just barely, just a blip on the monitor. But Dr. Hamdi saw it. His breath caught. He leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "If you're in there, if you're fighting, don't stop, because I think you're going to need every ounce of strength you have." He straightened, adjusted her blanket, and made a decision. He wasn't going to tell Derek about the brain activity, not yet. Not until he understood what was really happening. And as he left the room, Naomi's mind screamed a single word into the void. Finally. Day 17. Naomi's finger twitched. It was small, barely visible, just the slightest curl of her index finger against the white hospital sheet. But it was movement. Dr. Hamdi saw it during his morning rounds. He was checking her reflexes, standard procedure, when her finger responded. Not to the reflex test. On its own. Voluntary movement. His pulse quickened. He glanced at the door, then back at Naomi's face. Her eyes were still closed, her breathing still regulated by the ventilator. But something had shifted. "Mrs. Monroe," he whispered, leaning close. "If you can hear me, try again. Move your finger." Silence. Stillness. Then, There. Another twitch. Doctor, Hamdi's hand trembled as he made notes on his tablet. This changed everything. Voluntary movement meant consciousness, awareness. It meant Naomi Monroe wasn't as far gone as everyone believed. It meant she was waking up. But he didn't update her chart. Not yet. Because if Derek Monroe found out his wife was recovering, Dr. Hamdi didn't trust what would happen next. Across town, in the Georgetown townhouse Naomi had purchased 12 years ago under an LLC, Simone was redecorating. The movers had already removed most of Naomi's things: photo frames, books, the kitchen gadgets she'd collected over the years. Simone walked through the space like a designer assessing a project, pointing at furniture, deciding what stayed and what went. "This couch is tragic," she said, wrinkling her nose. "We need something modern. Leather, maybe." "Gray." Derek sat at the kitchen island, scrolling through his phone, only half listening. "Whatever you want, babe." Simone moved to the mantel above the fireplace where a wedding photo still sat. Derek and Naomi, 7 years ago, smiling on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. She picked it up, studied it for a moment, then set it face down. "When's the funeral?" she asked casually. Derek looked up. "The doctor said probably by the end of the week. Maybe sooner." "And you're sure about the white flowers?" "Positive." Derek stood, stretching. "I talked to the florist. White roses, white lilies, elegant, clean." Simone smiled. "Perfect." She crossed to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "You know what I keep thinking about?" "What?" "How different our life is going to be. No more sneaking around." "No more pretending." Derek kissed her forehead. "I know. It's going to be good." "Better than good." Simone pulled back, eyes bright. "We can actually live, Derek. Travel. Go to events together. Build something real." Derek nodded, but something flickered in his expression. Doubt. Guilt. Simone caught it. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just work stuff." "What kind of work stuff?" Derek hesitated. "There's been some budget cuts at the office. Some of my projects got shelved." "So?" "So I might be looking at a pay cut. Maybe even a layoff if things don't turn around." Simone's smile faltered. "How bad?" "I don't know yet. But I'm handling it." She studied him, then forced brightness back into her voice. "Well, once everything transfers from Naomi's accounts, we'll have a cushion, right?" "Right." Derek's voice was tight. "A cushion." What he didn't say: $47,000 wouldn't last long. Not in D.C., not with Simone's taste. But he pushed the thought away. Once Naomi was gone, he'd figure it out. He always did. Back at the hospital, Dr. Hamdi returned to Naomi's room with a wheelchair and a portable ventilator. "We're moving you," he said quietly, even though the room was empty. "Just to another floor, for more intensive monitoring." It was a lie. The real reason was to get her away from the main corridor, where Derek and Simone could walk in anytime unannounced. Dr. Hamdi had called in a favor. A colleague who managed the private recovery wing on the 4th floor. Fewer visitors, more security, and most importantly, controlled access. As he wheeled Naomi's bed down the hallway, her finger twitched again. This time it curled tighter. Dr. Hamdi's heart raced. "That's it," he whispered. "Keep fighting." Day 18. Derek showed up at the hospital and couldn't find Naomi's room. The bed was empty. The monitors were gone. Panic flashed across his face. Brief, but real. He grabbed a passing nurse. "Where's my wife?" "Naomi Monroe. She was in 3C. The nurse checked her tablet. "She's been moved to the 4th floor, room 410. Intensive recovery." "Intensive recovery?" Derek's voice sharpened. "What does that mean? Is she getting worse?" "I'm not sure, sir. You'd have to speak with Dr. Hamdi." Derek didn't wait. He took the elevator to the 4th floor, Simone trailing behind him. When they reached room 410, Dr. Hamdi was waiting outside, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Monroe," Dr. Hamdi said evenly. "What's going on?" Derek demanded. "Why was she moved?" "Precautionary measure. We're monitoring her more closely." "Monitoring her for what?" "You said she wasn't going to wake up." Dr. Hamdi's expression remained neutral. "I said her chances were low. Not impossible." Derek froze. "Wait, are you saying she might wake up?" "I'm saying we're being thorough." Simone stepped forward, her voice sweet but edged. "Can we see her?" Dr. Hamdi hesitated, then nodded. "Briefly, but she needs rest." He opened the door. Naomi lay in the new room, smaller and quieter than before. The machines hummed. Her chest rose and fell. Derek and Simone stepped inside. "She looks the same," Simone murmured. Derek moved closer, studying Naomi's face. "You said she might wake up." Dr. Hamdi stood in the doorway. "It's possible. The brain is unpredictable." "How possible?" "I can't give you a percentage, Mr. Monroe." Derek's jaw tightened. He stared at Naomi, and for a moment, something dark crossed his features. Not hope. Fear. "If she wakes up," Derek said slowly, "how much will she remember?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Dr. Hamdi's eyes narrowed. "Memory recovery varies. Why do you ask?" Derek forced a smile. "Just curious." But Dr. Hamdi saw through it. And so did Naomi, because deep inside her mind, trapped and screaming and clawing toward consciousness, she heard that question clearly. How much will she remember? Everything, Derek. She would remember everything. That night, after Derek and Simone left, Dr. Hamdi returned to Naomi's room. He sat beside her bed, voice low. "I don't know if you can hear me, Mrs. Monroe, but if you can, I need you to understand something." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Your husband just asked how much you'll remember if you wake up. That's not a question a loving spouse asks." He leaned closer. "So whatever you're fighting for, whoever you are beneath all this, I need you to keep going, because I think when you wake up, you're going to need to protect yourself." Naomi's heart monitor beeped steadily. And deep inside, past the fog, past the paralysis, past the prison of her own body, Naomi heard him. And she made a choice. She wasn't just going to wake up. She was going to rise. What would you do if you woke up and realized the people you loved were celebrating your death? Comment below. I need to know. Day 20. Dr. Hamdi sat in his office, reviewing Naomi's file for the 3rd time that week. Something wasn't adding up. The car accident that put her in the coma, a single-vehicle crash on Rock Creek Parkway at 11 p.m. Naomi's Mercedes had veered off the road and hit a tree. No other cars involved, no witnesses. The police report said possible fatigue. Derek had told investigators she'd been driving home from a dinner with friends. But Dr. Hamdi had checked. There were no friends, no dinner reservation, no credit card charges that night except for one. A gas station off Connecticut Avenue at 10:47 p.m., 13 minutes before the crash. He pulled up the EMT report again. Patient conscious at scene. Stated, he pushed me. Lost consciousness en route. He pushed me. Dr. Hamdi's blood ran cold. He picked up the phone and called an old colleague, Detective Maria Ortiz, MPD. They'd worked together on a case years ago involving suspicious injuries. "Maria, I need a favor." "Hamdi? Long time. What's up?" "I need you to pull a case file. Traffic accident from 3 weeks ago. Rock Creek Parkway. Victim's name is Naomi Monroe." There was typing on the other end. "Monroe. Okay. I got it. What am I looking for?" "Anything unusual? Brake marks? Damage patterns? Anything that doesn't fit a standard fatigue-related crash?" More typing. Then silence. "Hamdi?" "Yeah?" The investigating officer noted something odd. The damage to the car. It's consistent with a rear-end collision, but there was no other vehicle reported. Dr. Hamdi's grip tightened on the phone. What are you saying? I'm saying someone might have forced her off the road. The words settled like lead. Maria, the husband's been acting strange, asking weird questions, and he's got a mistress who's already moved into the house. Detective Ortiz exhaled sharply. You think this wasn't an accident? I think Naomi Monroe needs to wake up. Fast. I'll reopen the case. Quietly. Dr. Hamdi hung up and returned to Naomi's room. He sat beside her. Voice urgent. Mrs. Monroe, I don't know what happened that night, but I know you're not safe. So if you can hear me, fight. Fight like your life depends on it. And somewhere deep in the darkness, Naomi's eyes moved beneath her lids. A tear slid down her cheek. Day 22. Naomi's eyes opened. Not fully, just a flutter. A brief crack of light piercing through the fog. Dr. Hamdi was there. He'd been checking her vitals when it happened. Naomi! His voice was soft, urgent. Can you hear me? Her lips moved, barely. A whisper so faint he had to lean in. Yes. His heart nearly stopped. Oh my God. Naomi, you're awake. You're really awake. Her eyes closed again, the effort too much, but her hand squeezed his, weak, trembling, but intentional. Dr. Hamdi hit the call button, then immediately canceled it. He couldn't alert the staff yet, not until he understood what was happening. Naomi, listen to me, he said quickly. Your husband, Derek, do you remember what happened? Her breathing quickened. The heart monitor spiked. It's okay, you're safe, but I need to know, did he hurt you? A single tear rolled down her cheek. That was answer enough. Dr. Hamdi squeezed her hand back. I'm not going to let him near you, I promise. Over the next 2 days, Naomi drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time she surfaced, Dr. Hamdi was there. He spoke to her gently, told her about the investigation, about Detective Ortiz quietly reviewing the accident file. You're not alone, he said during one of her waking moments. I know you've been fighting by yourself for weeks, but not anymore. Naomi's voice was raw, barely audible. He tried to kill me. I know. They celebrated. I know that too. Her eyes locked on his, filled with pain and something else, determination. I heard everything. Dr. Hamdi nodded slowly. Then you know what you're up against. I know. Who I am. Who are you, Naomi? Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Someone. He should have never underestimated. Dr. Hamdi smiled back. Then let's make sure he regrets it. For the first time in 22 days, Naomi wasn't alone in her fight, and that changed everything.
Day 24. Derek received the call at 2 a.m. Mr. Monroe, this is MedStar Georgetown. Your wife's condition has changed. You need to come immediately. He sat up in bed, Simone stirring beside him. Changed how? The doctor will explain when you arrive. The line went dead. Derek's mind raced. Changed. That could mean anything. Worse? Better? He threw on clothes, Simone watching from the bed. What's wrong? I don't know. They want me at the hospital. I'm coming with you. No. His voice was sharp. Stay here. Something in his tone made her pause. Fear flickered across his face. Raw and unguarded, he left without another word. When Derek burst into room 410, Dr. Hamdi was waiting. Alone. Where is she? Derek demanded. Moved to ICU. Her vitals became unstable. Unstable how? Dr. Hamdi's expression was unreadable. Her brain activity spiked. Dramatically. Derek's face went pale. What does that mean? It means she's waking up, Mr. Monroe. The words hung between them like an accusation. Derek stepped back, his confident mask cracking. That's good, right? Is it? What kind of question is that? Dr. Hamdi moved closer, voice dropping. Detective Ortiz from MPD called me yesterday. About the accident. Seems there are some inconsistencies in the crash report. Derek's jaw clenched. I don't know what you're implying. Your wife's last words before losing consciousness were he pushed me. Ring any bells? The color drained from Derek's face. I think you need to leave, Dr. Hamby said coldly. And I think you need a lawyer. Derek's hands trembled. You can't prove anything. Maybe not. But when Naomi wakes up, she will. Derek backed toward the door, panic replacing arrogance. She won't remember. Brain trauma. People forget. She remembers everything. Derek. The name. First name. No respect. No formality. Hit like a slap. Derek's world tilted. He turned and ran. Not to Simone. Not to a lawyer. He ran because the woman he tried to bury was about to rise. And he knew exactly what that meant. Day 26. Naomi sat up in bed for the first time. Her body screamed in protest. Muscles weak from weeks of stillness. But her mind was sharp as a blade. Dr. Hamby stood beside her, Detective Ortiz on the other side. We need your statement, Ortiz said gently. What happened the night of the accident? Naomi's voice was hoarse but steady. We argued. About Simone. I told him I knew everything. And he followed me. On Rock Creek Parkway. Rammed my car from behind. I lost control. Ortiz wrote quickly. Why didn't he stop? Because he wanted me dead. The words hung heavy. And now? Dr. Hamby asked quietly. What do you want to do? Naomi looked at them both. Then at her reflection in the window. Thinner, older, but alive. I want justice, she said. But not the kind he expects. What does that mean? A slow smile crossed her face. It means Derek thinks he destroyed me. Let him keep thinking that. She pulled out her phone. The one Dr. Hamby had retrieved from her belongings. One call. That's all it would take. It's time he learned who he really married. She dialed. Day 28. Derek stood outside the Georgetown townhouse, his townhouse now. Or so he thought, when the locks wouldn't turn. What the hell? He jiggled the key. Nothing. Simone tried hers. Same result. The door opened from inside. A lawyer stood there, flanked by 2 police officers. Derek Monroe. Who are you? I represent Monroe Global Investments. This property is owned by our client. You're trespassing. Derek's face twisted in confusion. Monroe Global? What are you talking about? This is my house. No, sir. It's owned by Naomi Monroe, as are the other 6 properties across D.C., Virginia, and Maryland. That's impossible. Naomi doesn't own anything. Naomi Monroe is the founder and CEO of Monroe Global Investments. Portfolio valued at $600 million. The words hit like a freight train. Derek stumbled backward. No, you're lying. The deed's in her name. Always has been. Simone grabbed Derek's arm. Derek, what is he talking about? Behind the lawyer, a black SUV pulled up, the door opened, and Naomi stepped out. She moved slowly, leaning on a cane, but her eyes were fire. Derek's knees buckled. You're alive. Disappointed. Her voice was iced. Simone's face went white. How? Naomi ignored her, focusing solely on Derek. I heard everything. Every word. Every laugh. Every plan. Derek opened his mouth. Nothing came out. You tried to kill me. Naomi continued, stepping closer. You celebrated my death. You erased me. Naomi, please. Detective Ortiz has your phone records. The text to Simone planning the accident. It's over, Derek. Officers moved forward, cuffs ready. Derek fell to his knees. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. So am I, Naomi said quietly. Sorry I ever loved you. She turned to Simone, who stood frozen. The house is mine. The life you thought you'd have. It never existed. Simone's face crumpled. SHRAN.AS officers led Derek away. He looked back one last time. Naomi stood tall, unbroken, powerful. The woman he'd buried had risen, and she'd taken everything. 3 months later, Naomi stood in her office overlooking the Potomac. Washington Monument gleaming in the distance. Her company had just closed a $200 million acquisition. Her phone buzzed. Dr. Hamby, dinner tonight? You promised. She smiled. 7 p.m. I'll be there. She'd lost a husband, but she'd found herself, and that was worth more than anything Derek could have taken. She chose herself. She chose power. She chose truth. What would you have done in her place? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for staying till the end. See you in the next one.